for both sides thus far, at least. I wonder if we get that salty run back. There's the
Oh
Yone.
my god.
Take it away.
All right, it seems like even FPX are bored of the same draft game after game. We'll see what this means though, because we could end up having Elise actually be up and available if LGD are to stick to the same ban. So this is potentially the swapperoo, as it were. Could also maybe even consider just banning away Sedge, going towards Vine. They ban away the Lee Sin. Interesting.
Yeah, it's been the same ban.
So
Hacker's Lee Sin is deadly. So far though, same pickup with that Jack's first priority for Shallow.
So Sejuani Varus? Anybody? Anyone feeling like a little bit of Sejuani Varus here again in game number 3? I expect that the picks will probably stay kind of the same in the first 3. My question is what the adaptation will be towards
there we
No,
go.
there you go. It ends up being the Elise because of the Yone ban. All right, cool. So finally, some change and adaptation. The Varus is still likely going to come through here on the side of LGD just because of how powerful the pick is. And of course, it gives that level of flexibility between going on hit, lethality, kind of does whatever it needs to do. And you can also always pair it up with just about any support you need. So FPX now facing down against the Elise, going to have to find a very strong answer, not only in the jungle, but also in the sides of lanes for skirmishing.
I just love that Meteor's like, all right, I played the Sejuani twice. I got the win on it in second game. The chains are off. Give me the Elise. I want to carry. And we need to see that priority in lane still be there for LGD. Now, the Sejuani given over to Hacker. Facilitation to the lanes, to care, to LWX is definitely on the table.
Yep, so swapping out the rotation, it's jungle still into Annie. So FPX kind of keeping the formula the same, just some of the ingredients a little bit different, and we're gonna get a Jace. So leaning a lot more into, you know, poke here from the side of LGD, right? You've got the Varus, you've got the Jace. When you see those two champions together, typically it means you're getting the lethality builds out of both. But FPX, as things stand, don't really have too much an issue at dealing with a lot of that, right? Hard engage from Sedge, and you can always follow up. So LGD at the moment still quite flexible in what they want to do, and FPX actually remove away the Scion because they're not necessarily convinced that it's going to be Xiaoshu piloting that one for now, even though Jace has a pretty good time into Jax. So they're still just kind of covering all their bases here to ensure that LGD don't end up with a super strong front line with potentially a lot of poke and peel back.
With the final ban, this should just be illusion. This is what LGD has banned every game so far in the series as well. So just focusing on that LWX champion pool a little bit more. Definitely want to see if the Sivir is going to be that fallback option for FPX, but we're looking at their final ban. Would be a telling one in its own right. Very much looking towards if they're going to focus on this top lane matchup a little bit more.
I think they're going to just ban Gragas or nah. I don't think there's going to be much a change besides from that.
All right, Gragas makes it through.
Yeah, Gragas makes it through, and it's going to be Hovered and immediately locked in. Okay, so either way, LGD had a really, really strong matchup to put into the top side in terms of dealing with that Jace, but now Xiaoshu actually gets his preferred pick here inside of that Gragas, and Gragas in general just seeing a lot more play and priority kind of across the world, right? We're seeing it quite frequently end up in the mid lane, and you go this sort of tier rower build, and you end up super tanky, super ahead of the curve as FPX go towards that Jhin again. So you're not going to get your hype carry out of LWX. I'm very, very sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You know, because it's Jhin, I'll accept it. It's a payable offense. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. My only question is, what is Care going to run in the mid lane? Because we saw Silas Alvim game number 1 and 2. Syndra will be the choice here, which is kind of interesting to me because I feel like Syndra might end up struggling in a game like this, where you've potentially got 2 high range poke champions and then a bunch of non-committal engage tools. Like, I'm not entirely sold on the pick personally. We'll see how it does inside of the lane as LGD go even further into
the Ashe.
Yeah, go into the Nautilus this time around instead of the Ashe after game number 1 success. But I think when you've got this much poke, you also need hard engage to actually follow up on it, right? And actually capitalize on it. And even though Ashe can definitely provide that, Nautilus is a lot more straightforward in actually finding that lockdown. So I understand this decision here from LGD, and I think it makes a lot more sense to stray away from the Ashe in this game. But finally, we get a much different draft out of LGD. FPX are effectively just running the same composition with slightly different puzzle pieces 3 games in a row.
Now, I do want to hone in on LGD because the biggest thing we've said the entire time of the series has been where does priority come from in lane? How does Meteor work with that? And that's been the brightest points for them. And now with these kinds of setups, especially these matchups, when you're looking at the Gragas in top and the Jason mid, want to see how that kind of works out here, Jamada.
Yeah, I think to me, this is, I don't say like bread and butter LGD, because these champions are very hard to execute, but more in the sense of Meteor on an early game champion and lanes with ease of access, right? Lanes that are easy to play around pretty much all lane long. This should be the kind of game where LGD get to flourish in the earlier stages and try and snowball that lead, whereas for FPX, again, it kind of remains a situation of, can we kind of be a little bit cheeky and slot in and find a window with all of our CC? If not, we're waiting to teamfight.
Well, we're getting into it now. The final game of our first series of this night. It's FPX versus LGD. A point of pride on the table here for both of them. And a second win for FPX, a third for LGD.
And hey, if you are LGD faithful, maybe this
that third win does a lot, actually. I'm just going to say, there's a vast difference.
All I'm saying is, I think Weibo are on 5 wins, though they have a lot of games in hand on the standings right now. They're 5 wins, and I think they're like 4th. So the table is quite tight, all things considered. The issue, of course, then lies when you look at LGD's upcoming games and you realize that they have Weibo, BLG, Top Esports, EDG, JDG, and LNG left. So
but first and foremost, they got to deal with the Phoenix.
Yeah, gotta deal with the Phoenix.
It is a little bit of a change up here. Looks like in starts for junglers, where FPX be getting Hacker to start on the Chicky Nuggies. Oh, yes, we'll see Meteor with that pass down towards bottom side. Spotted out.
Be first. Spotted out. We'll see how much it matters, as oftentimes I find in this meta, laners still die to ganks. That's just how it is, even though it's just the thing to be super aggressive in the early stages in the jungle roll now. Doesn't really matter too much, as Xiaoshu gets a really nice level 1 trade. Of course, Gragas
top
has
side
that
change now with the Gragas.
Gragas has a lot more answers into Jax. The trades are a lot more positive. As you can see, it's pretty obnoxious. Body Slam, Comet Scorch. And then not only that, once the levels actually start to come in and Jax, his trade patterns become a lot more aggressive, typically in a lot of lanes, you can just Body Slam him mid-queue and walk away. There's no threat. So it gets really, really hard to actually do what you want to do as the Jax. And that is often trade and try and find these windows of opportunity to potentially set up for your jungler to come and dive. Speaking of...
So this should be answered to. I mean, there was a lot of vision showing them out, but Meteor will get one in, still get CC down. Repel does come through. Karis setting up a little bit here. Now the Scatter of the Week comes back. Nice little hammer from XQW. Gets some way. Jin Zhao is on the way now as well. Jojo a little bit low. There's that cocoon you were talking about. Zhao maybe waiting to pull that flash over the wall, but doesn't do so.
I've got to say, I feel like LGD just rolled. I'm not going to say a die 20, but I will say they rolled quite high on that 20 dice, because Meteor's walking into
what kind of save was it?
It was like a 15, you know?
Okay,
I feel like a lot of things went their way.
What's the save right now for LWX? Okay.
It's looking like a 5. Okay, the TP comes in.
He's good. A little bit of acrobatics coming through from LWX. I don't know what a flash stands for. Maybe that's a spell slot. I don't know. But now we're looking at a little bit of defense coming through, and some of that proactive play from LGD we need to see when they draft this Elise, and they have the strength of them to execute through Meteor.
Yeah, and absolutely, they're drawing a lot of resources, right? Teleport comes out from Care. Defensively, they get the flash out of LWX. They even, drew a lot of sort of time resource from FPX on their roam up as well. Just from Meteor kind of very fortunately warding that bush before he walked into it. Hello.
Okay, Jojo, he can't even get the stun off. He didn't even use anything. First blood to LGD. Jin Zhao getting some revenge from game number 1.
Yeah, and I want to just see more of this, right? More of Meteor, come off this Gromp camp, immediately come to bot side, dive, right? LWX only has cleanse, And if Chocho gets back in time by the time the wave crashes, just look for a dive onto Chocho. Either one really works out for you really well. Now, FPX, they're trying to find a bit of a response here because the wave is in a very painful position for Xiaoshu to play this one out. And you can see how...
knows something is wrong.
Yeah, he knows, right? He just about caught him on the vision, I think. But there's no pings, but vision.
All right, here we go.
Disruptive.
XQW is coming down as well. Can lay down some poke. See the cocoon actually connect here, but they've already moved so far off the tower that the dive will not be there to execute for LGD.
Yeah, I mean, but damage is still done. Plate will be taken. Wave missed. This is what you want to do with an Elise. So hard to deal with skirmishing, and Hacker's just not here yet, right? He showed his face on the top side, I believe. And if he didn't show it, LGD at the very least know that he's not on the bottom side because of the information that they've gathered through camps. So LGD just winning out on these small advantages for now. And hopefully they'll look to pull the trigger in a much more larger and meaningful way, potentially pick up a dragon and try and get some of those objectives starting to snowball as well.
Is the noon quiver already there for LPC? So expect Jinjiao to still be on that aggressive head. We'll be actually moving out a little bit, maybe trying to get some vision around this early dragon for LGD.
Definitely, they've had a lot of priority. A lot of that coming, of course, from Meteor. Kind of just showing face down there so many times. Open out on the map to mid lane from Jinjiao. Could angle mid here, honestly. Try and get Care's flash. I'm just gonna step away from the plate. Meteor's not there just yet. They will look, I imagine, to go and pick up this dragon themselves.
Yeah, we'll clear out a little bit. We do see a hover from mid lane from Meteor. The angle here, the Care playing well within his right inside of the minion wave there. Hacker will be showing up, trying to maybe get this level 6 mark as soon as possible is the goal for FPX, because that's where a lot of the setup for them comes from. I'm sure once that level 6 mark for Hacker comes through, we'll see a lot more of that proactive play from FPX.
Should definitely have
seen this before, but it was Sion the last 2 times.
And difference between Sion and Gragas is Gragas has a whole bunch of state, a whole bunch of mana to work with, because it's that early tier that comes through, and he kind of just gets to sit there and brick wall it the entire time. So Charlotte gonna have a much harder time getting anything super early done, and it seems like we'll be getting probably the full-on AP build here from Xiaoshu as well, which is super impressive. Anyone who was watching the LEC yesterday with the not the G2, the G2 play today with the Koi series with Mad saw how Niski was super impressive pretty much throughout the entire game, just with how much damage and CC he was able to offer. Expect the same thing out of Xiaoshu here at the top side.
Going to be a lot of that spacing available as well.
Yeah.
Get that target selection down. Be a bit of a dive being formed. Hacker gets engaged on before he can make it under the tower now. The LPC will crash this wave here. If Care getting caught, no. XQW, he wants the kill, but Care, that first little bit of damage is not enough. Just betrayed through, and the dive not pulled on LGD's bottom side.
But the pressure is still being felt by FPX, right? LGD, specifically obviously XQW there, just keeping Care away means that if LGD did want to pull the trigger, it would always be a confirmed 3v3. And that's the important thing, keeping that Syndra away, right? The button press, the level up 6, the R, it's just so powerful. That's shutting down the member, especially if someone's just diving tower, they're going to be half HP at least, and they will finally yield that dragon, FPX, and it will go to LGD finally. And expect to see that same level of objective control continue throughout the early stages, just because LGD have so many powerful skirmishes in this draw.
Wondering how they execute that here as well, and definitely has been the question mark for sure when we've been looking at both these teams. And again, reminding everybody, it was a lot about LGD getting set up through Meteor, where on the other side, Hacker just needs to kind of find a way to get Care LWX's resources. Maybe a little bit less so this series for LWX, but still Care absolutely, and get them to be those late game carries we know them to be.
Exactly. Got it in game number 1, although there was some outside help from LGD. But if FPX can get to that point, we know what they're capable of, and I feel like Care's in a... Again, I feel like Syndra is a pretty mediocre pick into LGD and the competition, but they're always going to be able to blow up someone. Now look for the gauge!
Ooh, quick flash from Chocho. That should be the Rift Herald. 2 Hacker, though. They will contest it here. Meteor!
Oh!
He steals it away. And everything's going the way of LGD so far. Chains of Corruption does miss. Chocho gets a nice little stun, but Chocho's down. And his second kill goes to LGD. A third will too. The curtain call's not enough. Shallow, who can't get the damage, the repels there. Meteor's still alive. He finally dies to the smite of Hacker, but what has it brought? Nothing but destruction.
FPX are routed. They're burned. They're the Phoenix by LGD. They lose the Herald. They lose the team fight. XQW, can he get on top of LWX?
Put away your Jin. You have a plot armor. Something. Throw it out. I don't know. Something. Okay, see, there you go. Plot armor. LWX
yeah, plot
is okay.
Yeah, XQW doesn't have the damage to kill him anyway, but it's quite funny. Meteor gets in. The smite. It's just there. Just there for Meteor. Hacker doesn't have upgraded smite, anything like that. Yeah, Shout picks up the top side, and LGD are just killing everyone. FPX are trying to get through that choke to try and regroup with each other. And yeah, Shallow, who's just not able to find it, thinks the smite of Hacker in the end, which gets it. He steps forward into range. For clarity, Meteor still had flash. He could have just
He did, and he was almost out as well. Like, he was in the back of the pit. He's like, I'm gonna go back in. Let's see what happens. And Spike comes down. But really heads up play from LGD. They get the Rift Herald now in the side lane for Xiaoshu. Now we're actually looking at any response to be had from FPX.
Yeah, exactly. With so many skirmishes going LGD favored, you do start to wonder, will they be able to make do on the wrongs that they found in game number 1? Right, they had a massive lead. What was it at the peak? I think 7,500, 8,000?
7.5.
Yeah, so will we get that same level of oppressiveness here from LGD in terms of the gold lead? Yet to be seen, but whether or not they do, what we do want to see is a much better level of execution come out to close out a game if they do continue to grow this lead.
And we do see that 3-kill advantage for LPC already lending to a Greaves upgrade and the shield bow. Now mid lane, flash cocoon. Care doesn't have anything to care about any longer. As now Xiaoshu, speaking of caring, needs to be a little bit mindful. Well, a big play pull for LGD in the mid lane.
Yeah, flash forward, pick up care, get a play off the back of it. Now it bleeds into the jungle of the bottom side here as LGD will now continue to invade camps as Chocho and Hacker just try and defend their mid lane tier 1. Xiaoshu's actually teleporting to the mid lane, so I wonder if this means they're going to try and 5-man bot and just have Xiaoshu kind of in the wings in the mid lane.
Dragon's coming up at 50. Maybe they just want to make a play beforehand, but it looks like they're just going to have pulled that trigger.
Oh, the Herald, of course.
Yeah, the Herald. And
Xiaoshu had Herald.
He had to deliver it some way, somehow, through a TP.
A little bit of get that Herald in next day, right? And they managed to pick up those plates on the back of it. So feels good for LGD right now. And there's 20 seconds to kill that dragon. They've got priority, or had priority in the mid lane and the bottom side. They are getting the resets in now, so this could be a window for FPX to try and pull something back. But look where Hacker is. He's on the top side. It feels like there's just not really any inkling that they want to contest it because they know how far behind it.
And you can already see that Meteor's heading into position. They already have a lot of vision on the bottom side as well. Care will be moving up here, maybe trying to see if Hacker can connect these 2 solo lanes. So far, so good on the LGD front for this second dragon.
2 dragons, super early, 14 minutes. We'll see what the soul is. If it Tech or Infernal, things can start to get really oppressive here. As more damage traded in to the LGD mid laner, but he's not going to feel too bad about it as he just dips into fog. Goes to assist with his team as they pick up the second dragon. And FPX haven't really had any answer to anything so far this game, it feels.
So
and you start to wonder when it will actually happen.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you have Care, who's obviously stacking up to some extent. Shala, who did show off those Jack skills in the late game in game number 1. And I think Hacker having a lot of that forward aggression with the Glacial Prison will be very, very instrumental if FPX want to find anything here. But so far, it's been a stranglehold by LGD.
Yeah, just really utilizing this at least pit to its near maximum potential. And just exhibiting why it's so perfectly pick banned as, yeah.
They have to move out.
CC.
Hacker uses the Glacial Prison a little bit defensively to pull back. Tibbers comes through. Their TP on the Tibbers as well. The curtain call is coming through now as well as Hacker moving forward. We said we needed to see that forward aggression from FPX. They pull a play on LGD while they don't get any kills. It's something of a breath of life.
Yeah, it definitely is. Just showing that they are still able to kind of just throw hands, keep LGD off their bottom side from making continuous plays. But we still want something a little more proactive for FPX, I suppose. This isn't really their window just yet. They are going to need a couple more items, right? Shalahoo, it feels like we haven't really seen him get too active until he hits that 2-item mark. Syndra's kind of there, needs boots and, you know, another component to really come online. And that's when I want to see FPX just try and, you know, play Fog, find a stun into an immediate one-shot, and then try and pick up the objective, or an objective off the back of it.
True.
But right now, LGD continue to just push forward at their own leisure.
Ooh, we got the Everfrost top side for Xiaoshu. Will be the Eclipse completed there for XQW as well. We see at least LPC and Jin Zhao now moving to mid lane. A little bit of a collapse from LGD to make sure that FPX aren't doing this Rift Herald.
Yeah. Quite like the Everfrost adaptation. I say adaptation, it was the build before Roa came out.
It was, yeah.
More in the lines of, I quite like it in this game, just having the additional layer of lockdown becomes really impressive. Now, yeah, Shalahoo, there's behind enemy lines.
This is a little bit iffy. Oh, but look, because of the XQW under tower, if they needed the power unleashed, Care get the kill back. It's trade 1-for-1.
But the thing is, I feel like Shalahoo's a little more important to the FPX lineup in comparison to XQW, and XQW has teleports, so if this is drawn out for another 20 seconds longer, LGD will just have numbers advantage again. So sure, losing their mid laner, kind of a big misstep there from XQW. Herald's still going to go to LGD, and FPX aren't interested in picking up this mid tier 1. They want to contest
you
the
sure
Herald,
about
not
that
let it go for free. They don't want to let it go.
Hacker wants to contest it. He wants to get that steal, that meteor pulled up, but now his health bar is no longer anywhere near steal territory. The shot blocked by Jojo. What a wonderful goalie opportunity for FPX. As LGD, they will take that Rift Herald, and they should be able to move to mid lane. Tibbers does get used, re-engage from Jin Zhao, though, and you've left yourself out, and Care is gone yet again.
Yeah, it's just so unplayable.
God,
great
this
call.
is so impressive.
I just feel like LGD walked away with so much that they wanted in the draft. And just generally, FPX as an activity on the map right now is just kind of led to a situation where not only have they handed the reins to LGD, I mean, they were always going to have the reins with an Elise pick in the early game. I'm not sure they will ever be able to grab it back for now unless this game goes really late or LGD make a massive mistake, let's say in front of the Baron, like they did in game number 1. And we get a replay of the pick hit on to XQW.
Oh, that actually...
Yeah, Glacial Prison was so close to landing. Yeah, T-Tor to the flash forward and the arm press, not bad. Yeah, final orbs come in and take up the Jax, the Jace. Jax, Jace.
The JA.
They're both in. JA, yeah.
XY are close to each other.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Just missing a couple letters.
I got you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. LGD, well, they know they're there now. And that player's...
Oh, that's so close for LGD getting a solo kill at top side.
Oh, that's so funny. It's just that the Jack's auto attack comes out faster than Xiaoshu's does, and he gets the Divine Summoner healing.
The big guy,
super close,
right?
though.
He needs a little bit of wind up.
Yeah, he's got the wind up frames on the auto attack.
But Jax is like a master of weapons. You have dragons who's just walking around with a keg. Like, I mean, come on. A little bit of difference in auto attack speed. But we do see actually collapse over here around the Dragon Pit because that is LGD's point of pressure, at least at this point, because this is Soul Point.
Yeah. And it's Hex Tech as well. Strongest snowballing soul in the game. LGD have rolled really, really good here. If they can secure this dragon and put the pressure on FPX to contest the fourth, they could be in a really good spot as they look to turn.
Ooh, flash from Toto onto the backline. Jinjiao's already gone as well. It's turning into a 4v5. The curtain call is coming through, but blocked up. Oh, actually shot through. He's going to hold that fourth one. Wait to see if he can get it through. Does not. The FPX have dissuaded LGD from the dragon. They also don't want to go for it.
Yeah, don't have the health bar on Hacker. That's the crucial thing. Not enough HP to actually play out the fight, so they will just take a reset for now. And I think we're just going to do it all over again. Same dance. Take a look at the ultimates though. We've still got the absolute power. Is that what the Syndra is called? I always forget.
Power Unleashed.
Power Unleashed. There you go. Still
Again,
available to FPX. Thank you. You know, ability names, it's not really, you know, it doesn't need to be my
You
forte.
do the numbers, I got the name.
Exactly.
That's how we do it. That's how we combo it. LGD just kind of sneak away the tempo of the game and take their third dragon.
Yeah, just able to slip in, get back on the map first. I don't think Meteor ever actually reset, so just able to get this one under their wing. And now that's third dragon, right? Just saying before that initial fight kicked off that get this to Soul Point, all of a sudden FPX, they just really, really have to worry about the fact that that Soul can come through in a couple minutes time. And it can very easily force a bad situation or a bad decision rather out of them. They're several thousand gold down. Could see a whole wide range of different things, right? LGD just go towards the Baron when the dragon spawns up. FPX are like, wait, don't you guys want Soul? No, we'll take the Baron. So we'll see what the decisions will be from LGD and whether or not they can force that kind of error out of FPX.
A little bit of a moment of calmness, at least for both sides now. No objectives mean no fighting. In terms of the general state of the thing. Is that
the LPL way, though?
Apparently, that's the LPL way here. I mean, we had 10 kills last game at like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I always feel like that is naive. I always feel like we end up with really chill games a lot of the time.
Dude.
And then we get the complete bangers.
And
like
then,
they're just like complete volcano eruption games. But a lot of the time, you know, sometimes middle of the pack games, they're just a little bit quiet. I guess it just depends on the teams and how they're feeling on the day, what they ate for breakfast.
Oh, we do see a flashing burner though. Xiaoshu in a little bit of trouble down here with stop shallow who can re-engage in there. There is a collab from LGD on top side. Care, be a little bit careful. Does have the vision there to see that coming.
A little bit too quiet whilst.
Because they have a spider on their team, Jamada. Here's a quiet. Have you ever heard a loud spider?
Yeah, but only in the movies.
Oh. What movie are you talking about? Like Eight-Legged Freaks?
That's exactly what I have in my head right now, yeah. That film, like, it genuinely kind of gave me arachnophobia.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
It is a terrifying
The spider in the walls with the cat, like, I always have the second thing, like, but any walls, I just like, is there a spider? But there are spiders in the walls right now in FPX's house. They are Phoenix, so you'd wonder why they don't just burn the house down. But Meteor is there, and he's pointing present.
If you burn the house down, then you have nowhere to live.
But it's a spider. Like, is there an argument?
that's the kind of, it's a spider.
I don't think there's anything more I need to say.
Yeah, based and true. Mazel based and true. don't need to
we don't need no spider stands in this house. We do see though those third items. At least 4 LPC completed. That'll be the wits in there, so a little bit of that on hit coming through. We get the Banshee's Veil second for me here, but an engage goes a little bit wide and topside. Enough to get XQW out of there cleanly with a flash.
Yeah, really nice flash. If he flashes immediately, then Care can just follow through with a flash of his own and lock down the mid laner with that Scout of the Week. So really nice discipline to not immediately flash. Not only the ultimate, recognizing it's going to go wide, but not flash in a panic to then get chased down, because that very quickly could have turned into a lot of pressure, potentially snowball for FPX. I imagine in a situation like this, they would have tried to have just flipped the Baron, so really nice discipline there from the LGD mid.
You can see it's just pressure right now that LGD are playing with. They know the advantage they have, and they just continue feeling out the defenses of FPX around the map. They've moved from top side, now they're on bot side. It's 1 minute until their soul spawns.
1 minute, and FPX. If we try
It's
and
like
take
a fight
stock of the
night
game,
timer.
yeah, it's a bit of a fight night timer, and not only that, you have to really consider, are they even in a position to fight? Because I always say around this marker in the game, will the dredge line come out? It's like the answer is no for now. You know, we've seen 5k gold leads before where actually if you take a look at the inventories, the items are actually parity. So it's a 5k gold lead, yeah, but it's not completed items which change champions. Here, however, across the board, there are item disparities. Top, AD, jungle.
Seraphs or Xiaoshu.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
He's chilling.
The
I mean,
madman.
it's part of the build. It's part of the build that we see a lot of the time right now. Kind of surprised he didn't go Roa in the first place, to be honest.
I was wondering that if we were going to get any adaptations from it, but no, it is literally that. So a lot of grip being the name of the game for LGD, a TP, try to contest something here, but that sets up for the poke that LGD are pointing present for.
Exactly, they've got the poke. Even though it's on hit, Varus is still going to pack a fair amount of punch. And of course the Jays.
Engage. Oh! JoJo has found the backline access. That pivot did huge work, but JoJo, he's getting chased down. The hammer slam from XQW. He got the curtain call, now trying to do something. It is a split fight, but FPX, they have a bit of a health advantage. It's Xiaolahu coming to collapse. So FPX actually do a wonder here and take a bit of a trade fight against LGD.
Oh. Yeah. Oh.
He almost dies to that. Like, I mean, the cash is there.
You know Xiaoshu was just considering E-flashing, but Meteor coming back in with a little bit of health available to him with the front line of Xiaoshu. Maybe
stole it again. Is the nightmare there yet again against Hacker?
He's
in the pit. He doesn't get it, but Xiaoshu does. The Rabbits are done. They're dusted, and they are dead as a huge LGD presence in a 2-fight win. Back to back, and now into a Baron.
FPX can try and burn the house down to make the spider go away.
Make it go away!
Drunken Man, it doesn't matter. And speaking of fire, look at this engage from Chocho, man. 4-3 members, I think, clipped by that canny stun. So hard for LGD to really react to that. And health bar is so heavily chucked out. Ultimate comes in and Jin Zhao drops to the curtain for an LPC. Would have been close to follow if XQW doesn't tank it up. Xiaolahu just isn't able to come in and capitalize on these health bars. He's being man-marked there by Xiaoshu, but look at this. Who gets their smite in first? So smite comes in, I believe, from Hacker. And Meteor, I think he's smiting a champion, and it's just Xiaoshu who manages to steal it away. Hilarious stuff from
That's the Saris, baby. No, but it really was just a clutch moment for LGD to continue to press this lead, right? They're 8,000 gold in the advantage now. Xiaolahu, you might have leapfrogged your way to a death here, buddy. As he went up over the wall trying to get the grab, has to go right back over the wall, but there are spiders in the walls, Damana!
I'm terrified. It's eight-legged freaks all over again.
PTSD here, I can't.
Yeah.
Somebody save the cat!
Yeah. Someone save the cat. Good thing that, oh man, if there was a Yumi in this game,
it would be so fitting. It would be so fitting. The 8-legged freaks have taken over Summoner's Rift again. They're in FPX's walls. And now it's just a actual push in the mid lane. Top side as well. Looking at these inhibs, still 1 minute and 40 seconds on their Baron buff.
Yeah, with the soul, you can see it's just too hard to step up if you're FPX. Inhibitor number 1 is gone, and now they'll just have a top wave to work with. FPX, I don't even know if there's much point in saying that there's still a chance, because right now it's going to take a massive setup from Chocho, who has no
on the back. They're trying to find it. They engage a little early. Shout, who is still so far away. He make it. They've already lost Chocho. And now the shot from the accelerated shock blast will come through. Xiaolahu doesn't really have an angle. He gets Everfrosted down. Engaged from Jin Zhao. And that flank meant nothing. anything against the might of LGD in this series.
FPX are being 3-0 today in this best of series. LGD, they're going to close onto the Nexus towers. First one's going to drop. FPX, I think they're out of gas, Mazel.
If they can make one last-ditch effort here, more shock blasts coming through. They have another minion wave, one knockback from Care. You haven't been able to find the bridge, though, that FPX were taking to the promised land. And LGD, while they do lose down, they're still looking back onto FPX, and they're starting to fall apart. There's more feathers left on that plucky Phoenix, and LGD will go up to 3 wins in their series of the spring split.
And they're going to need it. I realize I've been silenced a little bit. That's my own mic doing that. Apologies. But yeah, LGD, I feel like in all games had a lot of positive things to talk about, right? It was just that very, very hilarious game number 1, which led to this being drawn out to a 3-game series. Very, very clinical in this final game. I think it has to be said. I think they were just angry at themselves almost. And FPX, I feel like put themselves in a hole, right? By leaving up the Elise in this game, feeling like it was such a problem that they trade out the ban. And LGD pick it up and they just run with it. And that is exactly the kind of LGD that we want to see when they have all of this early agency.
And I'm just saying, XQW gets their first win in the LPL. Let's go!
Big.
But LGD as well, speaking of, right, we said this was a point of pride. You're facing the bottom of the table teams. Those wins are even more important while you're looking at the top of the table and matches you have in the future, right? And this win for LGD, it puts them to 3. That's not that far of a breath that they could take here for themselves while they have those tough opponents. It's looking positive. Meteor, again, sticks to the rule of getting priority lanes and working through that.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is, with how competitive the LPL is right now, the bar to make it into playoffs will likely be lower than it historically is. So if we're huffing the copium,
and let me whip
bit,
out
right?
the Mazel's Hopium Emporium. Where is it at?
if we're huffing on the hopium here, there is a chance, theoretically, that if they somehow manage to sneak away 3 wins somehow out of the back end of their games, if they make it to 7, that might be the line, guys. I'm just saying. Not going to hype them up too much because, again, it is a very tough run of schedule for the next couple of weeks. It is effectively just the top 5, top 6 teams here in the LPL they have left to play, plus Team WE. I will say, however, BLG sometimes trip over themselves, so maybe they can find some leeway there. But yeah, still today, very positive. And like you say, I think this is just a very nice way to put it. It's a point of pride, right? Making sure that you don't kind of leave the season with so few wins is kind of just critical and crucial to team morale and the environment for the team.
I do want to take a stark look at FPX, though. Obviously, a lot of disappointment here when they came out swinging in game number 1. I will say a little bit of brightness, right? They have been losing. I mean, this is the 6th series loss in a row for them. They had lost all other 5 and 2 O's. Now actually making it the distance, trying to come out with something positive there a little bit more. But their schedule coming forward is a lot easier than I would say LGD's is. And that's where you have to kind of pull some of the positives that we saw here, maybe change that champion pool and bottom side a little bit more and figure out how to make it work with Hacker and the rest of the team.
Yeah, it feels a little bit strange, right? The decisions from the FPX. Sort of, I don't want to like criticize the coaching staff, but more in a sense of, you have LWX, why are you not putting on the hyper carries? It feels like too much of a burden is being placed on Care if he's being put in these carry situations, or even Xiaolahu to a point. When you have such a talented AD, give him the hyper carries, give him these very powerful picks in the meta. Today we didn't get to see that, unfortunately, and for LGD, I think probably for the happier to see that LWX wasn't on something like the Zerios taken away a lot of the times, or any of these other agency picks, which feels like he can very frequently, at the very least, take over early lane stages with.
And what a clutch pick for the Gragas here, actually making him through for the 3rd game. And really, Xiaoshu having a lot to say in those team fights.
Yeah, I mean, Gragas is a really, really powerful pick at the moment on this patch, and I feel like We haven't really seen it too much in the LPL off the top of my head. I expect that we will continue to now start to see it a little bit more as popularity kind of grows for the pick and people kind of get to grips with what it can actually achieve in the solo lanes, but also we see it in the jungle a little bit too. So it is a bit of a three-way flex, triple threat. Makes it very hard to deal with.
Well, we get to speak to the jungle man himself. Meteor is there with Christina. We'll send it over to the interview.
Hello there, welcome to Post-Game Interview. I'm Christina. We're joined by Meteor, the jungler from LGD. Congratulations on your reverse sweep in this best of 3. If you don't mind, I really want to touch on how did you guys reveal after losing game number 1, which you got 7k golden leads before that Baron team fight, and how did you guys reflect on yourselves or maybe adjust your form? 欢迎国豪来到我们的赛后采访，恭喜老干爹今天在 BO3 当中让1追2拿下了这场比赛的胜利。如果BTR 这边不太介意的话，其实我们想了解一下，在第一局你们在领先7000经济，后来因为一波轮团被翻盘之后，是针对这一局做了什么样的调整和准备呢？
就第一局的话，就我们优势很大嘛，然后可能就中期有点着急，就一直去频繁的想逼大龙吧，然后。就我们打大龙的话 ，C 位的位置会很差，然后被对面抓了几波团战的机会，然后我们这个阵容后面可能就不太好打了，后面也频繁的失误吧。然后第二把的就打完第一局的话，其实就说不用那么急吧，就稳定一点做决策，打好每波团战就好。
Actually, we really got a big lead in early game, but maybe we were a little bit hasty in mid game, especially like in the Dragon team fight, and our AD carry's position was not very good for us, and maybe they have find some great angle or opportunities to engage us. So for game number 2, we just need to stabilize our mentality and hold on and do better decisions like this. And the second question, speaking of the game number 2, something interesting I found is you have almost the same draft with game number 1, except you changed the support picks. So what's your take on draft in game number 2? And for FunPlus, they also pick the same draft with the game number 1. 那么国豪选手这边也刚才提到了第二局的准备嘛，其实我们发现在第二局的时候 ，BP 这个方面，不管是 FunPlus 也好，还是 LGD 这边也好，除了你们最后会用一个寒冰替代了泰坦的选择之外，其他的选角禁用的顺序甚至都是一样的。所以你觉得第二局这个 BP 的情况你是怎么看待的？然后为什么会用一个软辅去替代了那个硬辅呢？
就第二局的话，就因为我们那个阵容总体来说感觉还不错吧，然后也是前面也拿到了很多我们该拿到的优势。然后对面为什么不换 BP？ 就对面肯定赢了也不换嘛。然后我们也觉得阵容好，所以两边就用了一样的阵容。然后至于下路为什么用艾希的话，就我们下路觉得线上好打一点吧，可能就我们下路就觉得艾希可能会有不一样的效果，就换了一下。
From my perspective, I do think this draft is decent for us, and also for FunPlus, they won the game number 1, so they will not change their draft. And in terms of the support picks, we do think that Ashe is really better than Nautilus because we want to get some leads in bot lane early game, so that we just think this draft is just like the game number 1. And next, I want to touch on the game number 3, which you performed pretty good. How did you manage to snowball the game? And there was so many tower dive, gank, and you also steal the Rift Herald. So how would you evaluate your own performance on at least these jungle champions? 那么第三局的时候，可以看到老干爹这边可能在阵容上也有一些稍稍的变动。那么国豪这边是怎么在前期开始就频繁的去进攻、游走、gank， 甚至是还有一些前期抢先锋都是很关键的。你觉得在前期是怎么样展开自己的一个思路的？
因为对面第三局 BP 有改嘛，去把就版本比较强的蜘蛛放出来了，然后也没有选，然后我们就拿下蜘蛛之后就做了蜘蛛该做的事情吧，前期，然后节奏也是比较顺利。其实就是蜘蛛的一个滚雪球能力比较强吧，然后我们就比较擅长的发挥了他的就是强的地方，就做到了。
In Bamti's strategies, FunPlus just gave us Elise. This champion is open, and I really want to pick this champion. I do think she's really excels in like controlling the game pace and do something proactively. We just need to utilize her strengths to snowball the game smoothly. Final question for you: we all know that LGD is trying to explore your appropriate playstyle or the other things. So, is there any room for improvement from your perspective? Because we're also saying there is a lineup rotations for your team or the other thing. 那么最后一个问题，我们可以看到老干爹现在也是在积极的寻找自己的战术风格嘛，并且有时候也会有一些人员的轮换，看能不能打出什么样的效果。那么你觉得下一步这队伍这边还在哪些部分需要改进和提升呢？
就 就首先赢下一把比赛，大家自信心也会有比较大的提升吧。然后，也就是慢慢探索版本吧，然后去找到比较适合自己的打法和当前版本比较好的东西吧。然后去就是沟通啊、运营什么的都可以去做比较大的提升。
Actually, with this victory, it's really just like confidence and mentality boost for our team, and we are still trying to exploring the meta and try to improve our team synergy and macros, the other things. Maybe we just need to improve all of this aspect for us. Thank you so much for joining me. 谢谢国豪来到我们赛后采访，跟大家说再见吧。Back to you guys.
Thank you to Meteor and Christina.